with the first story in my life. Now, if you think this is going to be a linear thing, prepare to be disappointed. I think telling things chronologically is not ideal. That's why I've actually chosen tonight's game to accompany me. It's a game called Othercide, that is about fragmented memories and pieces of yourself that make you whole. Pretty symbolic game. It's developed by Lightbulb, published by Focus Entertainment. Very beautiful game. I think its highlight is, however, the soundtrack. If you ever have the option of listening to the Othercide soundtrack, just it's a journey. You'll see. Try it out. Okay, I'll say nothing. Um, and what I wanted to talk about today is my experience with limerence. So, what's a limerence? Probably a lot of people are not familiar with this term. Limerence is a type of infatuation, uh, but it is different than infatuation in certain aspects. First of all, you have to realize that part of the allure of limerence is that you become infatuated not with a person, but with the concept, the idea of a person. And even though this doesn't jive with your reality at all, like at all, you have no idea who this person is. Sometimes you might not even know them and they might not know you. You are still obsessed with them. Now, people who have had some sort of traumatic event in their life, especially as children, are apparently more prone to limerence. Now, I'm no therapist, and I don't think I've ever seen a therapist. No, I haven't. So, but I know that some pretty bad stuff has happened in my life, so I can see how, that trauma might have. Yeah, who knows? Maybe that's why. And maybe it's something else that I realized about a bit later. So, uh, that's what limerence is. It's basically you fixating on a person and thinking that you can't live without them. You cannot stop thinking about them. You want to be with them. You feel maybe a certain degree of sexual attraction towards them. And it's an extremely powerful feeling that just it doesn't let you be, right? It occupies your thoughts. It might affect your work. It might affect the way that you see your current relationships. And I think one of the things that is less talked about in terms of limerence is that pop culture and even like classical literature ascribe these qualities of wasting and obsession uh, to true love. They talk about true love like that. And I don't think that's correct. I don't think you should have your true love as some sort of mental illness where you cannot think about anything else but that person. And you shouldn't base your entire idea of your everyday life around meeting that person and being with them. Because that sounds unhealthy, you have to agree. And limerence is like that. Limerence is an unhealthy obsession, just in every aspect of the word. It's unhealthy. Um, so, what the hell happened? How did I get limerent? You have to understand, at that time I was in a committed relationship. I was not single. Um, but I had spent quite a large portion of time severely isolated from any serious connections I might have. Friends, family, everything. I had spent a lot of time alone, and there was no one I could relate to, at least not meaningfully. And that can really mess you up. Mm, it really did. And I think a lot of people at the end of the pandemic can relate that yes, it does really mess you up and it makes you rush into any new acquaintance and social interaction as if it is the first ray of spring sunlight, brushing against your skin. It just feels amazing, even if normally you would think of it as a lot more mundane. And so this person, they're usually called the limerent object. I'm not going to call them that because I know it kind of dehumanizes them, and I've dehumanized them enough. But this person that I felt limerent towards, um, I met them um, in a professional setting. And like we spent some time together, we joked around. Clearly, we had some stuff in common, but nothing serious. And they were obviously, very obviously, and very clearly in a happy monogamous relationship, right? It was completely clear that they were. And nowhere did they state that they were dissatisfied, that they were looking for something else, nor did our interaction, brief as it was, indicate in any way, shape, or form that there would be something more between us. And that was like quite normal because we honestly didn't spend more than like an hour talking. That was the extent of us getting to know each other. So it was really bizarre then, that feeling that I got from that person, which was that was my dog flopping on the ground. I'm not sure if the microphone picked it up. Uh, it was like you don't really feel it at the beginning, but then it creeps on you and you start thinking about this person like this is your salvation from your mundane life. Even if your life is not mundane, even if everything is going well in your relationship, it makes you think that your relationship is not going well, and it tricks you into pursuing that thing that is not real. It's crazy. And my rational brain understood this. It was like, what the hell is going on? Why am I feeling this? I don't know this person. I don't want to be in a different relationship. I am perfectly fine with the person I'm currently with. What is going on? Like, I didn't know about limerence back then, or I would have immediately identified it for what it is. But when you don't know what it is, it's just you start questioning your own sanity. You start wondering, am I insane? Is something happening to me that, that I am not aware of, that is, causing me to feel this? Like, am I on drugs or something and I don't know it? What's going on? Am I having a psychotic episode? And no, like if you're feeling something like that, you're not having a psychotic episode. It's your maladaptive part of the brain trying to form a connection that you're desperately craving because some part of your life was really messed up at some point in your past. Okay, so this person, like, I realized that this was not okay, right? It was extremely inappropriate. So my initial reaction was to just cut off all contact. Just immediately not talk to them, do not look them up on social media, just do nothing. Do not even mention their name. Uh, because any mention of their name or just thinking about them uh, made me think about them more. It's addictive, that sort of feeling, because it makes you feel like you're in this sort of romantic movie or a fairy tale where, this magical thing is happening to you, even though it's like a complete delusion and nothing of the sort is going on. Just, it's ridiculous. But you do get addicted. You do get addicted to the feeling. And it pushes into this false narrative that you're going to escape your boring life if you pursue this, uh, and it keeps telling you that your other relationships are bad, that your other conceptions of the world need to be expanded, that you're going to be finally free if you're with this person. uh, it's, as I said, completely irrational. You can't you can't even begin to think why this would be the case, especially in my case where, like, that person and I, we barely knew each other. It's safe to assume that we didn't know each other. So why did this happen? What's the cause behind this bizarre phenomenon called limerence? Well, as I already said, um, a big portion of it is trauma, and usually it's something that happened in your childhood. Maybe you were neglected, maybe something worse happened, maybe you lost a parent in some way, but it basically makes you feel lacking in love and affection. So you start trying to compensate it by attaching to people that you have no meaningful relationship with. And when I finally started doing my research and learned about limerence, I realized that this is not the first time that I felt this. I had been limerent about other people before. I had just never realized that it was limerence because of the aforementioned pop culture, you know, propaganda making you think that being obsessed with someone and wasting about them and, turning it into this malformed, misshapen feeling instead of actual love is what true love is. And it's not. So if you feel like that about someone, think very carefully about whether this is true love or not. And think very carefully how much of a consent you're giving to yourself to feel that way. And if you're addicted to the feeling that you're currently experiencing, or it's the person that's more important to you. Because to me, the realization that it was more about the feeling and not the person, that's what made me realize that yes, this is limerence. It's not true love. Like, even if we put aside all the other illogical stuff that was going on, like, just even if we had, a connection, even if that person had somehow reciprocated my feelings, just if you realize that it is more about the feeling than about the person, it's usually limerence. I think my previous isolation definitely made me feel like I needed this in my life. Just because, like, my life was fine, not ideal, it was fine, but I felt very unfulfilled in certain creative and social aspects of it. Like, I couldn't meet with people I wanted to meet. I couldn't, you know, get together with the kind of circles that I wanted to get together with, and I felt very lonely. I genuinely believe that the current life that I had, where I was, it deprived me of meeting the people that I truly wanted to meet. And I'm not sure if that's true. I don't think people just fall into your lap out of nowhere. You need to seek them out, and that goes for any type of person. If you want new friends, you need to reach out. So, and I wasn't doing that. So, just to meet someone new, it made me just latch onto them and be like, yes, yes, that's the kind of person that I want. And honestly, that's kind of unfair, not just to the other people in my life who are definitely the kind of people I want in my life and definitely don't deserve to be called boring or mundane or undeserving of love. They are all of those things. But back then, this ridiculous obsession kept telling my brain that no, 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 these people, they're not your real people. You need these new people in your life. You need to start this new relationship with this person. No. Like if you feel something like that, just run. It's not a healthy thing to experience. And I have to say, it was also not fair to that person I was limerent about, because they didn't deserve this. I mean, they didn't know, but they didn't deserve to be treated like an object for my emotional fan fiction that I was writing in my head with them. They didn't deserve to have someone think about them in that way without them, showing any kind of reciprocation. And they definitely didn't deserve to uh, you know, have all of these qualities ascribed to them that most likely weren't true and were overly exaggerated, like how they're really good looking and how they're like super smart and witty. And, you know, I'm sure they weren't dumb, uh, but it was just this overly idealized image of them that showed in my mind that was definitely unrealistic. And that was the limerence stalking. That was not in any way derived from the experience that I had by meeting this person. So, how did I get over this? Let me tell you, it was not easy, but it happened. Um, the first thing that you need to do if you're feeling limerent and you definitely don't want to feel limerent is the following. Admit that this is an unhealthy and unnatural feeling. The moment you realize with your logical brain that something is not right is the moment where you realize, hey, I need to do something about this. This is not something that should continue. And if you do this, then you know, okay, all right, I'm gonna try and be avoidant of this thing. The second thing you should do, and it is the thing that I did, cut all contact with the person you feel limerent about. Because keep in mind, your fantasies about that person are not bound in reality. Just every encounter with that person is used as fodder for those fantasies, but they're not real. They are not showing you a real thing, a real person. They're just the concept that you are eager for, trying to manifest itself in your imagination. So you don't need that. Like, and honestly, if you feel just an ounce of appreciation for that person, I find it a little bit creepy that anyone would use anybody's face, to put on in their personal, slash fic in their mind about how they're so amazing. Just no. Admit that this is not okay and you shouldn't do this with anyone. And then just throw yourself into doing stuff. Any stuff, anything that you like. Because a symptom of limerence is that you get these boatloads of extremely anxious energy. You feel invigorated. You feel your heart pumping. You can't sleep properly just because you feel like you need to do everything, everything, everything. You might even feel more sexually active than usual. So, if you think that you are feeling limerent, just fill your time with something else, something meaningful, according to you. It might just be you want to play computer games, just as I'm doing right now. That's perfectly fine if it keeps you on track and not thinking about that person. The other thing I would suggest is clearly, if you're being limerent, you are missing something in your current social circle. So look around in the relationships that you currently have and identify the actual relationships. People who love you, who appreciate you, who have been with you through thick and thin. Not just people that you want to be with, people who are with you. And this will help you immensely. And finally, if you think that you're missing someone, that someone is not in your life who should be, who is not, you know, the object of your limerence, reach out. Look for meaningful connections, not just something in your mind. Be proactive and have an actual relationship that will, be for you and not just a safe scenario that you can play out in your mind and that will make you feel good about yourself. Because that's what this was doing. It was making me, you know, it was making me feel like a movie star who is playing in a movie where everything is perfect and nothing ever goes wrong because I am ever so awesome and the other person is ever so awesome. But reality is usually a lot messier than that. Relationships are more messy than that. So just admit to yourself that no one's perfect, that relationships are difficult, and do them instead of dreaming about them. That is my advice about limerent people. I am hoping that maybe I helped someone. I have been deliberately vague about when this happened and who um, all the parties were, because honestly, it doesn't matter. First of all, it's in the past, it no longer is true. I think it's enough to just keep it at that. Second of all, it is, I think, a universal experience. There is no need to name names, especially since the person I was limerent about had no participation in this whatsoever, and they don't deserve to be involved into this. I don't know what they're up to nowadays, and I'm keeping it that way. I have had no contact with them ever since, and I have no intention to. The reason I am actually doing this video, and I am not afraid that my limerence will, I don't know, get triggered again, is because I can now safely state that I am no longer limerent about them. How do I know? It's pretty simple. I can't remember their face. Literally, I can't remember their face. I don't remember what they looked like, which is pretty funny since, that was a person that I felt very strongly about, that I had this whole relationship in my mind with, and I can't remember their face, like, at all. I only remember an outline and maybe some features, and that's it. This is another indicator that this was not real love, nothing of the sort. It was always about the feeling itself, the way it made me feel. Now that I think about it, the fact that I wasn't home when I met this person, like I was traveling, so I didn't have any of the usual chores that I had to do. I could just focus on socializing and meeting with people and having fun. I think that also contributed to it because when you're like that and you're an adult, that's very rare. Usually, you don't get a lot of moments like that. So it's kind of made me feel a little bit like high school, when you just have school and nothing else. Maybe also that also contributed to it because basically I had a lot of free time and I wasn't burdened by the mundanities of life. But in any case, it's gone now. I suggest you keep an eye out for things like that and see if this is going to, by any chance, impact your understanding. Because if you've been limerent before, you're probably going to feel limerent again. And it is better to know the signs and act accordingly than to just shrug and be like, oh, well, I guess I just fall in love easily. No, know the difference, know the signs, act accordingly. It gets better, and you're going to feel so much better, just so much better when you replace this anxious feeling with an actual relationship. Even if it is brief, even if it is not as deep or as beautiful as you imagined it, it's still going to be a lot more real than anything you imagined in your limerent state of mind. So, just this is my parting advice. Just focus on what's real. Anything else, just it might be hurting you more than helping you. And if anything feels addictive or intoxicating and you feel like you can't stop yourself thinking like that, just extra red flags. Extra red flags. Anyway, that was my first story. Sorry for my crappy microphone and crappy everything. I don't have any equipment. I just wanted to put this out there in case anyone has experienced limerence or is interested in the things that I have to say. Uh, with that, I wish everyone a good night. And if anyone is interested in more stories from my life, I intend to soon play another game and tell another story. So if you want to listen to me, like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you next time.
Feelings. I think if you try to indulge or, uh, you know, chase your fantasy, this is gonna lead to. There is a sports car outside that is screwing up the audio. I don't know who it is, but I'm sure they are overcompensating for something by forcing that engine. Go away! Shoo! This is a residential area. Oh my god, I'm turning into an old lady.